Hello everybody, my name is Sam, and this is my presentation for my climate change conversation interview. So I decided to interview my girlfriend Sydney. She is 19 and we've been together for about 9 months. I expected her to be pretty concerned about it, not necessarily a doomist, but definitely concerned and not denialist. I know she's very liberal-minded, and I know that she's not the most... I didn't expect her to be the most knowledgeable or most experienced. So I put together the questions in a way that I would be able to cover all the bases, no matter if she knew a lot or was experienced with climate change issues or what have you. So the first question I decided to ask Sid was, how concerned are you about climate change? She told me that she was extremely concerned about climate change, and she's had experiences with some of the effects regarding weather or climate that could be attributed to such changes. And she told me that it's very clear that things are getting worse and that things will continue to get much worse through what she's seen and read. She knows that in her lifetime it's clear that many species will be eradicated, and that it's all worrisome, all the changes that are known and aren't known. Next, I wanted to ask her a question to gauge how she gets her information and where she looks for information. So basically what she told me was that she is a victim of getting lots of her information from social media, but unlike other people, she fact checks her information. If she sees something that she wants to know more about or thinks twice about, then she's going to Google it. She's going to look for multiple sources that say the same thing or, aren't biased about it and might be more factually correct. She also discussed that she follows news sources on social media such as NPR or the Washington Post or the Associated Press, and she also reads those columns from Apple News. So she is well informed on the issues, and she does receive up-to-date information whenever anything new comes out. Next, I decided to ask Sid, have there been any specific instances of changes in the environment over time that you have noticed, and if so, which has been most concerning? So, in response, Sid discussed that hotter temperatures and increased strength and frequency of hurricanes is the most concerning and most obvious. Hurricanes being upmost above temperature issues. She told me that when she lived in Jersey, August used to be a cool month and actually felt like fall, but by the time that she left, it felt like summer throughout August. So, and I feel that we are seeing the same thing here in Maryland, except it's even extending into September now. So as for her hurricane experience, she lived in New Jersey when Hurricane Sandy came through, and she noted that schools were canceled, the boardwalk was destroyed, and there was downed trees and power lines everywhere, which was so unusual for New Jersey, especially during the time of year that Hurricane Sandy hit. And she said that when she lived in Florida, they had to evacuate for Hurricane Matthew, which was also not in a typical season. It was in September. And they had to go to Orlando, and they still felt the effects of Hurricane Matthew. So she expressed that these things are the most obvious and fairly concerning. So next, I wanted to ask a more broad question concerning climate change. So previously I asked about changes that she's seen, specific instances of change. So now I wanted to ask if there was any specific issues like, say, pollution or sea level rise or anything that stood out to her and made her worried about climate change. So Sid explained to me that higher temperatures are the most worrisome since they have a broad range of influence. Most notably for her, that broad range of influence is sea level rise and hurricanes. She told me that it's concerning that the more temperatures increase, the more sea ice will melt, and the more that the ocean water will expand, and it's all very concerning, especially since she has lived a lot of her life around coastal areas. Now she lives in Virginia, so it's not as pertinent of an issue, but it's still something that she thinks about because these are places that she grew up. Mainly, the influence on hurricanes and storms getting stronger is a very big concern that she thought would impact everybody. After I was able to establish this base level of understanding what she knows and what she feels about climate change, I wanted to ask a question that would help me understand if she might be, a closet doomist. She might be really scared and feel like there's nothing that can be done, but, doesn't really express that or doesn't directly feel that or hides that in a veil of hope, So I wanted to ask her if she felt like we were nearing a point of no return with climate change or if we still have time to make changes necessary. What she told me was that since she often goes to New York, she often sees the climate doomsday clock in Manhattan. It's always a worrisome sight, but she wouldn't say that is something that we should be focusing on, that we're nearing a point of no return, but she does feel that we are at a critical time where issues need to be addressed as soon as possible, and she feels that the way that can be done is through legislative action. So, following up with Sid's previous comments regarding legislative action, I thought this was the perfect opportunity to ask her more about that and more about her feelings about it. So, my specific question was that do you believe that state-level climate policies and legislation is the best way to address climate issues, or would a federal response be more effective? In response, she told me that she doesn't know a ton about policy issues and legislative processes, but she feels that if issues are properly followed up upon or instituted and there's extensive planning and everything, then states are the best way to get the action done, just because states tend to be able to pass laws better and more easily than our seemingly gridlocked federal system. But she sees this limitation of the state's ability to follow through with legislative issues, and we have seen that with Baltimore and its inability to address the stormwater issues and inability to address waste management issues. And this is a major concern for her, that she sees that a federal response would be better if states are just unable to address these in the first place or unable to follow through with the proper legislation. Finally, I wanted to ask Sid if through individual action, if people can make an impact, a positive impact in the fight against climate change, and if there's anything that she wants to do regarding that. Now, I already know, and she already told me that she doesn't eat meat products, and she makes an effort to not buy fast fashion products, and always tries to recycle whenever that's possible. She told me that going forward in the future, she would like to compost and be better about recycling and even bring her own bags to the grocery store. And it's through these small actions that we see that many people are able to see how their own impact can be positive or how they can make a difference. However, Sid did state that she feels like normal, regular day people should now be responsible for cleaning up the mess that corporations have made and should not be responsible for solving climate change. She did say that individual action can be important, but her thoughts and attitude toward people's individual actions being able to affect climate change reflects that of many people, that why should I be responsible for doing something when I'm just here now. I'm just now owning my own house and having my own car. Why can't the government, or why can't these big corporations have to pay? And I feel like that's something that many of us think about. I found this interview to be very eye-opening, I'm very appreciative to know other people who share the same views as me and share that understanding of the urgency of this issue.